I felt a little sharper this morning because I was talking about something I sort of know. It's amazing how that works out better when you speak about something that you know. And today, the last two, which is the Gyaltsen and Dorje Sumki Nyendrup, even though I translated those parts in the esoteric instructions there, still, they're way over my head. Actually, have no clue. For those, I don't think maybe anyone was here Thursday night except Marcus. Oh, these three here and a few people. So you might remember I spoke about the Saint Jerome, the patron saint of translators who translated the Septuagint from Greek to Latin by himself after 72. Jewish elders translated it from Hebrew, which is a good example of, I guess, the things degenerating and the issue of working in groups or working by yourself. But working by yourself, then you get to become a saint. And and then you become the patron saint of translators. And there was this quotation from him that is reminding me of me today, which is in the patron saint of, where is it? Is this it? That one? Oh, no, wait. It's that one. There's Saint Jerome with death, looking tired. He said that he always translated from the sense to the sense rather than from the word to the word, except when it was using the Latin word, which I don't know, mysterium, which then you can have a discussion of what that really meant, which is really funny. But what it means to me is that when you really have no idea what you're translating, that's when you rely on word to word, because you just have to put the words in without actually knowing what they might mean. So that was the case with Kalachakra, Gyaltsen, and to some extent the Dorje Sumki Nyendrup. So I really am going to keep this hopefully quite brief. Gyaltsen means Sadhanga Yoga, the 6 yoga practice or 6-branch yoga practice that comes from the Kalachakra Tantra. And when, as I mentioned before, the Treasury of Knowledge, Jamgon Controls, in esoteric instructions, he was only giving teachings on the completion phase. And I realized, maybe Elizabeth talked about that, but we didn't really explain so much what creation phase and completion phase is. And maybe I need to do that just briefly now, which is that the visualization of the deity and those practices that you associate with Tibetan Buddhism are called creation or generation phase. And then completion phase is not the equivalent of the dissolution phase, which is a different word, the durim, when the deity dissolves, but it means what we would call the yogic practices of working with the subtle body or the astral body, whatever you want to call Vajra body, whatever it is, I have no idea. But so that's something to keep in mind. And then when that's perfected or those two become unified or however you want to view it, then it's called the great completion or Dzogchen. So keeping that in mind, then these teachings are taken from just that part of the Kalachakra Tantra, and that's why it's called the lineage of Gyaltsen and not called Kalachakra, because the Kalachakra Tantra is an amazingly complicated, amazing thing that I shouldn't even say the word out of my mouth. But it's, but I have no choice. And there's some things that I think are unusual about it that I'll mention briefly because it's almost always treated separately from other tantras. In any book where, Tibetan books where they're talking about the tantras, Kalachakra's got its own chapter separately. And it has certain things different about it. One is it's very late tantra. It's the latest tantra. It's put at the 11th century or late 11th century, somewhere. I have it written down somewhere, but I think that's right. And that's when already the second spreading of Dharma in Tibet is happening, and that's when India is crawling with Tibetans looking for texts. So there's already the other tantras present, and it, comes from somewhere. I mean, all tantras are, said to come from the Buddha's teachings himself, usually in the form of either Vajradhara or the deity that's associated with the tantra, in this case, Kalachakra. And as with most tantras, Kalachakra Tantra, the root text is lost, is never, not in Sanskrit, not in Tibetan, nothing. However, one person has posited at least that it's actually not impossible that there was one, because it was only said to be 12,000 verses, whereas some of them, like Chakrasamvara and Hevajra, the early root texts, are said to be like, 2 million verses or something. So it's kind of, although if you've seen like the Mahabharata or something, you might think that India could come up with these enormous epics. But in any case, when we talk, the only thing left of it is one text, one part of what they think was the 5th chapter on empowerment, which is called Wangdor Tenpa or Sekodesha, and a really great commentary by Naropa on that, which is the kind of one of the mainstays of people learning about the Kalachakra. And so what we usually have as our source, or when they say, like the text of Kalachakra Tantra, would be actually something called the Kalachakra Condensed Tantra or Laghu Tantra, by somebody called Manjushri Yasha. So why is that important? It's because Elizabeth and I can't figure out where to put it in the bibliographies. Is it a treatise by somebody we know that starts with Y and we put it at the end, or is it the Buddha word and then it goes along with the conjures and it's not listed with an author? So that's why those things are important. And then there's a very famous commentary, even more than on that, which is called Stainless Light, which has been published in English and which is, a massive, amazing work of brilliance. So, very late in the 11th century is when it came, and then it also came very quickly to Tibet. Usually, there's a sort of a gap, but within, I think I heard 20 or 40 or both years, it was taken into Tibet. So that's a quick, from the time it appeared in a place called Shambhala, and to the time where it entered by 2 main streams into Tibet was a very short time. So it's still warm. And so in our little list of the 8 charioteers, in this case, it's the translator Gijo is the one who brought it in. That, according to Control, is one of 17 lineages of Kalachakra. Do you want to hear them? No. So I'm not going to talk about those, but you can find lists of all those 17. Let's see, where do I... And so a couple other thematic reasons why it's set apart, and here's where I really don't know what I'm talking about. That'll sound good on tape. A couple of so what are let me just go this way. What are the 6 branches, the 6-fold yoga that we're talking about in here? And just to name them: withdrawal, meditative stability or dhyana, vital energy control, which you might know is pranayama from your local yoga class at the gym, retention, dharana, recollection, anushnuti, and absorption or samadhi. Those are the 6, briefly. I mean, there's no way I'm going to tell you what they actually entail. A couple of the other reasons, though, within those teachings that Kalachakra is considered quite different is, one is this idea of empty form, tongzu, which has quite a bit of a different implication than some other tantras, such as the illusory body that they taught, illusory form in the Gurya Samaja Tantra or other tantras. And it has a very particular meaning which I see as connected, and this is just me, to certain teachings in the Nyingma traditions, Orgyen tradition, where I've been told, and I don't understand what this means, but it's not that good old form is empty and emptiness is form, like we know from the Prajnaparamita, but actually emptiness takes on form. And so, and the other one, because of that particular interpretation in there, the Kalachakra claims, remember I said they all claim something, Kalachakra claims that because of these 6 branches of practice as applied, that it claims to be able to transform the regular body of flesh and blood with its 21,600 vital winds, alchemically transform it in this life into the final and enlightened and empty form Kalachakra, so that most other practices and even other tantras more expect that you're going to be able to attain that state in the bardo after death. Kalachakra, there's a physical transformation due to these practices, and that's why our friend who came and taught Kalachakra, I finally figured out why he was making all these claims about it. There was just a teacher here who totally focuses on the Jonang version of Kalachakra. That's what it claims. You don't have to go through all the thing. You actually have some kind of transformation, and I don't understand what it is. And the other thing that sets it apart, I guess, in just this completion phase practices, well, in general, in the Tantra of Kalachakra, there's all kinds of areas of knowledge that aren't contained in all Tantras, such as astrology, astronomy, medicine, geography, all kinds of things, and that are their own field of learning all by themselves that we really couldn't possibly cover or even understand. But Kalachakra is like a lifetime study, I would say. Oh, 2 things I thought of. One thing, Jamgon Kongtrul says specifically, which I think is quite interesting, is that the one different thing about Kalachakra is that it explains clearly things that are hidden in other tantras, which is really interesting because I find the Kalachakra very obtuse and even coded, even sort of encoded. But I just read an article today, trying to prepare, and now I kind of understand what he was talking about, but it's maybe a diversion here. And then the other thing is a much more emphasis on macrocosm and microcosm, or Kalachakra means the wheel of time, and it has a cosmic kind of connection, not just theoretically, but while you're doing these 6 branch yoga or the 6 yogas, and I'm completely ignorant about astrology, but apparently there's a new thing that pops up on the horizon every 2 hours, a new constellation or whatever it is that influences the subtle body. And the winds and the bindu and the channels all have a shift according to that. And the Kalachakra practices, you take that into account, and you can use it to enhance or enforce the practice. And so that's quite special, actually. And so those correspondences of the body or the subtle body with the world in general of the macrocosm is a speciality of Kalachakra. I think that might be enough on that. I mean, there's so much more, that you could talk about. I found John Power's book on it to be simple and more easily understandable than some of the source texts. And he also claims to know exactly on the map where Shambhala is, so that's interesting. He says it right there. It's the C2 River, north at the certain latitude, and, so no need to be a big mystery about it. That's what he says. But other people have it being like a state of mind or who knows what. So that in our little chart of those 8, then Gyjo is the translator that brought that one into Tibet, one of the 17 lineages. And we spoke a little bit about, I mean, the Kalachakra is a very, very, it's kind of, you almost can't overestimate how important it's been. And we spoke before about, that you may not have been here, about what Dalpopa did with it and how the Jonang lineage has, followed a whole new trajectory because of a new interpretation of the Kalachakra Tantra. So that had a huge effect on the history of Tibet. And just one last recommendation, if you're really interested in this, there's a good website with Edward Henning has put up, I think it's called just kalachakra.com, isn't it? Or org. Yeah, maybe org.
There are actually 2. One is a collection of articles and papers and things, but then his is the
Yeah. I guess I'll go on to Dorje Sumki Nyendrup, which is, so both of these lineages are contained together in the 15th volume of the Damgakzu, of the Treasury of Precious Instructions. And there's a reason that they're contained together, is that they're very similar. They're both based on the completion phase of the Kalachakra Tantra. They're just a slightly different lineage, and this one is Dorje Sumki Nyendrup is, maybe we could call it approach and attainment of the 3 Vajras. So mainly I'm just going to explain the name because there's a lot behind it. So the 3 Vajras are the body, speech, and mind of the enlightened being. Vajra body, Vajra speech, and Vajra mind. And one aims to achieve that through purification of ordinary body, speech, and mind, or one aims to unveil it, realize it. And the method of doing that is through approach and attainment. So this word, Nyendrup, it's like a shortened version, and this, unfortunately, in all the different tantras, is not always treated the same, but generally, this often has to do with creation phase practice, generation stage practice of the deity. So there's Nyempa, which is like, you could say approach, or sometimes it's more appropriate to say propitiation, propitiation of the deity. And then the Tibetan kind of on-the-ground practitioners have started using Nyempa as how many hundreds of thousands of mantras you do, which is how to approach the deity. So it can also mean that. So people have been complaining about, why aren't you translating every word the same every time? And that's an actual very technical term, and even that won't work to translate it the same every time. Anyway, Nyempa, and then usually there's Nyenyen, which is a close approach, which is like getting closer to the deity. Then there's accomplishment, or attainment, and then there's great attainment. Or sometimes, and in this case of the Kalachakra, it's approach, close attainment, and great attainment. So they just changed the names. And those 4 are accomplished through these 6 yogas that were mentioned. They line up, with them, and it's a little bit different in these 2, in the Dorje Sumki Nyendrup and the Jordruk, the way it lines up. So basically, about what it's saying is, it's interesting. I found, like, on a dictionary, a very interesting kind of explanation. But through the practices of both creation and completion phase, and these yogas, you purify body, speech, and mind to attain Vajra, body, speech, and mind. I mean, that's the real simple version. So Orgyenpa was, the person responsible for this was Orgyenpa. He was, not quite a bit later. His teacher was Gutsangpa, a well-known Khargyu teacher. This is 12th and 13th century. And he traveled many times out of Tibet, and at one point he went to Udayana. Actually, he went he went to the one place in, I don't know, somewhere, and then he met a girl. And then the girl told him he should go to this other place called Uddiyana, and there he went, and then he met Vajrayogini, and she bestowed these teachings on him. Then he came back to Tibet, and among other people, he gave the teachings to, again, third Karmapa Rangjung Dorje. So that gets absorbed into that lineage pretty much. Although he had some others, and he wrote something called, guess what? Vajra verses, again. So more Vajra verses, and they were passed down, and it's quite a long lineage. Rangjung Dorje, got the entire teaching system from him, and then passed it on. And one of the main holders of it was another Karmapa Rinpoche Dorje in the 14th century, and then there was a long list, of people carrying it. But it doesn't really exist as a separate practice. And that's just about all I have to say about it, because people aren't too interested in it. But it's and I kind of seem to have lost the part that. Oh, okay, here it is. So the difference is this. Let me just do this last thing. There's 6 branches of practice of the subtle body completion phase. And according to the first Nyendrup system, approach and attainment happens in the 4 stages. The first one is just the visualization of the deity, and that's called applied to withdrawal. Then there's meditative stability, vital energy, and retention, all associated with near attainment. Then there's recollection, which is associated with attainment, and absorption with great attainment. Orgyen heard a different story from Vajrayogini. He heard it kind of goes to, twos. So you have, he has only 3 stages of approach and attainment instead of 4. It kind of works out mathematically better that way. So he has in the approach, one practices withdrawal and meditative stability and attainment. One practices vital energy, control, and retention. And in the great attainment, one practices recollection and meditative absorption. So that's how, it's just a different kind of correspondence. Here's another, and this is called Nyendrup ki Dorje Sum instead of Dorje Sum ki Nyendrup. It says, according to this system of Orgyen, these are explained as follows. Training the body through the indestructible reality, that means the Vajra, of the Buddha body, there is the branch of ritual service develops withdrawal. Training the speech through the indestructible reality of Buddha's speech, there is the branch of attainment associated with breath control. And training the mind through the indestructible reality of Buddha mind, there is the branch of great attainment associated with recollection and contemplation. So everything's a little backwards in that explanation from what I explained, and I have no explanation of that. And if any of you understand this, let me know. Because this stuff is really difficult. I would not have been able to even translate that section on Kalachakra without our colleague Cyrus Stern's help. There are people who really focus on this, and there's a lot of translated material and commentary, and there's a whole book of articles in honor of the Dalai Lama. I think it's called, can't remember what it. Something. Yeah, as far as space extends or something, which is a really, really good resource. So that's our finishing of the 8 lineages of attainment or accomplishment, or the 8 charioteers of the lineages of accomplishment. What's it all about, Lama Tenpa?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I don't really know. I have an idea. What should I say? Yes, first, I want to express my feeling. It's like I feel very happy to be in this place, Shambhala Publications. I have heard this publication when I was really a young monk. Even at that time when I tried to learn English language, to read English, that was really striking as I saw the torch of certainty. No. Torch of certainty. Jamgan Kongdu, third Jamgan Kongdu gave me that book. You should read this one. I said, oh, then look at Shambhala Publications. In the room, I haven't for a long, long time this, what they call, habitual tendency after the term. Shambhala is my mind. And today, as I'm here, and also Nicole, he asked me, he wrote me a few emails to visit this place along with our markers. Even though I had a wish to visit, but never happened. But now today, I will make it here. Yes, I feel so happy. Then also it's a good dental yabola, dental. Do you know dental? How you translate dental?
Auspicious connection.
Auspicious connection, okay. Maybe you believe it or not, but in Tibetan Buddhism, or the Vajrayana Buddhism, right, they consider this dental as so important. This auspicious connections play very important role. That's it. If this auspicious connection is not take place properly, then even like a Buddha, real Buddha is here and teaching will not affect it. Then that's good. So this in Shambhala publication, and also talking there's 8 practice lineage for me. That is for me, not for you, it's a different case. For me, it's being in Shambhala at Shambhala Publications house, and related topic is 8 practice lineage. Not only that, also I have this Zanda Foundation fellow. Also, I have a deep connection with Zada Foundation, and especially Lama and Eric La. Yes. This is what I call dental. Dental. Jubeki dental. Dental is like a coming, 3 things for me come together. One is like a lineage, 8 practice lineage. And second is the place, Shambhala publication, for me it's a long time in the West. And third is, what do you call this, organization who organized for me to be here. Tunji, conducive conditions, right? When the 3 come together, for me it's a great auspicious connection. Yeah, but it is. Maybe Lotto Thai, or Jongan Kongdu, or the Nyendrup. Right? So Lotto Thai has many names. Almost like he has 18 or 20 different names, right? He goes with. Even when you look at his names, these names are not title. When he receives different names, for me, they're really fascinating. Different names. If you read, right? one thing is when you study or translate, because of he has so many names, it can't be. Same, different name, it can't be. It doesn't match. But actually, he goes many different names. Even when you, for me, when you think of his different names, it's already like a, wow, it's fascinating, blow my mind. And this is why I call him, because even like just name, he's so called Great Lodotaye, Great Master Lodotaye. Isn't it? Yeah? Then maybe for you, Lodotaye is just another guy's name, right? What really matter? Right? Who is Lodotaye? Lodotaye or Einstein, Albert Einstein. For Tibetan people, Albert Einstein, it doesn't mean anything, right? Albert Einstein, okay. So it says, okay. Even if they was the Tibetan people would say, oh, it's very difficult to pronunciation, right? Albert Einstein. Then who say, who care? Or maybe same thing like a Westerners, right? Lodotaye. Who the Tibetan guy? Who? One care. Then the same thing, like if you really want to go to physics, into physics, or the modern physics, then Albert Einstein will go, oh wow. It's legendary. Similarly, if you're really interested in Tibetan Buddhism, especially practice Tibetan Buddhism, if you really look at Tibetan Buddhism, it's a very weird religion. Tibetan Buddhism has so many, what you call, contents, right? Contents. So many. Someday, okay, Tibetan Buddhism, right? But if you really look at what is the Tibetan Buddhism, it's confusing. You cannot really,
Put your finger on it.
yeah, this is Tibetan Buddhism, right? You cannot put finger. It has so many elements, right? Sometimes I call like there are 4 categories, not the 5 categories, not like a 4 different schools. Different Tibetan Buddhism, right? If you really look at Shepa, scholastic, practice, monasticism, blind faith, and wandering Negorwa, like pilgrimage, like who does pilgrimage whole life, and just believe, right? So many different forms there, practice. Right? So many different forms. Tibetan Buddhism, right? But among all this element, if you go with the practice lineage, they call Nyendrup practice, then Lodotaye become a legend.
So in the explanatory lineages, you don't really need Lodotaye.
If you go to the scholastic, right, intellectual field, Lodotaye doesn't appear that much, right? When you study Abhidhamma, Lodotaye's name you cannot see, even one name, title, Lodotaye. When you study Pramana, Lodotaye is not important there. When you study Madhyamika, even like a great text Madhyamika, right? Of course, Lodotaye mentioned, but when you study the Madhyamika, Lodotaye is not there. Even when you study Dulwa, Vinaya, right? Lodotaye is not involved in that area. And Pramana, they know the Shegyuro, this is what they call intellectual, or the scholastic tradition, right? Then Lodotaye is not that it doesn't appear. Then when you come to practice, then the Lodotaye become the key. Not only in Kamakaju lineage, whole lineage, like Sajya, Nyingma, of course, got you, even glubas, even burn. Right? When you practice, then Lodotai involved. Right? Even I met, one time when we are in 3-year retreat, then Sajja Tenzin visit us. Somehow, right? Sajja Tenzin visited the Pulahari, then we request to come to our retreat, inside the retreat, and he came, and he says, without Lodotai, there's no practice these days, right? In Sajjapas. Korang galde Lodotai the pep mena, if Lodotai doesn't appear, come to the land, then Sajja Sama Lakba religion there is. Kasum and there is. Lakba some kasum and there, right? You just close your mouth and your hand tight, you just sit. Lodotai garden la dene, that the Sajja la da mambo. You ready? Lodotai garden somebody.
So based on his kindness.
His kindness, all this in practice. Practice. Even burn, can you imagine burn? Even if you meet a burn practitioner, they say, Lodotai is not Buddhist, it's Bumbo. And they have a claim, they say, look at his father, Yungdung, right? His father's name goes to the Yungdung. He was born as Burn family, and he's a Burn practitioner, and he also compiled a lot of Burn practice texts, which I haven't seen that, but therefore, when you come to the same thing, if you are interested or also sincere or curiosity about practice in Tibetan Buddhism, then Lodotai appear. His legend, he appear. Right? Then question here is that this is why he wrote all the texts called Dubju, practice lineage, right? It's like his name.
Yeah. There's scripture right there.
Dubju there. This is why his collection, all this is like a Dubju Shungda Chenpo
Yeah.
Shegu like him. He didn't say that's this called intellectual lineage. It's a practice lineage. Then therefore, Lodotai, therefore like practice like Lodotai, when you go to the Drupang, actually you really appreciate every text, right? Even small sadhana practice, you say, oh, because of Lodotai, you have that sadhana.
Yeah.
So therefore, in Tibetan or Himalaya, right? A Tibetan Buddhist, the Vajrayana Buddhist practitioner, when you practice in sadhana practice, then Lodotai, you will remember the kindness of Lodotai. Then later we can think, I've been in the West. Then actually when you read Lodotai's text, right? Actually, he didn't write anything. He
Yeah.
just copied. Right? Everything he copied from there, right? If you look at it from the Western point of view, he has what? Plagiarism, intellectual property he are using, then it be full of a lawsuit. Isn't it? Every single text. Right? Every time they used to sit there, oh, what happened to that? Then question is, for what reason, why, for me, right, why he compiled, this is what you call chokti nangbare, chokti, compiling,
From different
Then
areas.
that's interesting, the Lodotai, he never say he wrote all this, he say he make the
compilation.
compilation. A compilation. Then for me, right, my personal question, what is the purpose? What is the purpose? Then sometimes I argue with the Westerners thinkers. If you really look at in the Buddhism, right? Buddhism, if you write something from your own, that will be wrong dharma. Wrong, right? But in the West, it has to come from you. That's the good thing. But in Buddhism, if you're writing by yourself, convert everything, then
New creation
wrong dharma.
of wrong dharma.
Then pure dharma, you have to trace back. Always whatever, right? What do you call? Lineage and history, Buddha said, right? Dirang shegorowa. You continue this, little bit changing. For example, even then you know the Shantideva, right? When Shantideva asked to give teaching, some reason behind, and Shantideva sit in throne, and he asked the audience, right? Should I teach something new, or should I teach something old? Then audience, of course, asked, you should teach something new, totally new, from your own realization. Then Shantideva said, no. What do you say? Right? He said, like, I'm not going to, there's nothing to say which is not happened, said before. He said, I have no power or realization to do something new. Therefore, same. Then if you really look at it in Buddhism, it's like, okay, that's good, okay. This master said this master said this, master said this. When you combine it, then Keba Yakudu Siguro. Sanjiki Sungdang. Then Keba Tang, Bandita Tang, Tuptok Sung Jima Jishin Lagro.
Just like before.
Like before, right?
Then you're known
writing.
as learned. If you can compile all those different things they said before, then you're learned.
Then there's no against the law, plagiarism in Buddhism. No. Right? One thing I want to say that. Then second thing is you can think, okay, if already, then this all like, why? A lot of time compile. Maybe I think Lama Sara already mentioned in the previous talk. I missed that.
Friday night.
Yeah.
They all missed it.
Yeah. Then for me, it's like a few reasons, maybe at least three reasons. One thing is you can think that during the Loditized time, right? Then almost what they call Gyubati, lineage, right? Lineage, Gyuba, almost declining. Then in Buddhism, especially Tibetan Buddhism or Vajrayana Buddhism, without a lineage, you cannot practice or study. Then primary reason is a lot of they want to restore. He bringing this lineage back into our life. Not only Kaju lineage, all the practice lineage. Okay. Then very interesting how you bring back the lineage is actually you search all the text and you rewrite a little bit, then you can make it. Then you teach and right, then you can start new lineage. This is what the Lodothai did. One reason is the Lodothai did is even like all the texts, all the 8 practice lineage already exist. It brought to Tibet even like 100 years before then. Lodothai was born, right? It's 100 years before. It already exists in Tibet. But the lineage is gone. Lineage is gone and nobody really practiced. And he promoted this. Hey, we should not just what do you call Lag na digmen is not good to just get lost.
Lost, yeah.
Right? And then the Lord Thai put a lot of effort and bring lineage alive. That is his effort. That's one purpose. Thing, right? And then second is a political thing. Politician thing. Second, why he need to bring? Because Lord Thai is a fearlessly, shamelessly put his name. Because certain texts in Tibet, you're not allowed to practice and to read and to study, right? Like John Nangpa's, Dolbopa's text. Some political reason, the forbidden. The forbidden. Then Lord Thai said, okay, he put his name, changed a little bit, and he said, actually, Lord Thai is a text. Then people could study. For example, Uma Marim Gyulama. Gyulama. There's a Buddha Uttara Tantra Shastra, right? Gyulama's commentary. And somebody says exactly the Dolbopa's text. No, Dolbopa, Taranata.
Taranatas, yeah.
Dolbopa Mare. Re. Yeah, maybe, yeah, the Dolbopa's commentary. Or the maybe Taranata and Dolbopa, right? Dolbopa, yeah, Dolbopa. There's exactly this Gyulama's commentary Dolbopa's. And why did? Because at that time, Dolbopa says you're not allowed to read and study. It's forbidden. Then, very fearlessly, shamelessly, and then the Lord Thai put his name. He changed a little bit, and the Lord Thai Kazam, right? Then people study. That's another reason. There's a second reason. Then third reason, Lord Thai or the Jamyang Chenze Ongbo, right? There's two, and later like a Lama Mipam. Later, there's really, as a Lord Thai and Jamyang Chenze Ongbo have this idea, there's a non-sectarism. Then before Jamyang Chenze Ongbo and the Lord Thai, right? Then in the Tibet, what do you call this? Split. Chori. Chori the
Bias or prejudice.
Yeah, bias, prejudice, right? And there's a really split, very strongly split. Not only split, there's a lot of dispute and conflict, right? Then Lord Thai and Jamyang Khyentse Ongpo realized this is the sign of Kali Yoga, dark ages. And they put this, actually all Buddhism in Tibet, right? Actually, Gongbati, Tadu Gongpa, or the ultimate intention is this one, same. Then the remain movement, right? And they start this. When they chana, chuluk nangdik lagada, nangdik lang kad lagada.
In an organization? Or?
Yeah, chuluk nangdik like that mean what you're reconciling, you come together. Reconcile, yes. Remain.
With Gongpa Chigpa.
Yes, same intention.
Single intention.
Single
of all
intention.
The lineages.
Single intention. This is what Lord Thai is using, right? He's saying, this is a really, he said, I don't remember where, he said, it's really shameful. Like, we all say, like, Kachupa, Nyingma, Sajai, we are better, right? We're the better, you're the worst, you're better, yours are the fighting. It's a shameful. He's saying, all the Tibetan Buddhism, right? Practice is actually one. Same. Every, what do you call the 8 lineage practice, right? 8 practice, lineage practice, mainly ultimate practice is ngak lame.
The unsurpassable mantra.
Auspicious mantra. All. If you really, what is really practice and ultimate practice? Is unsurpassable mantra practice. Sangma. Julupa, Nyingma, Gaju, Saja, Shangpa, Jodu, Shije, Dojisung, Nyendrup. Right? Really practice is a unsurpassable. Ngak lame ke judre. Nyamle.
It's the Uttara Tantra in the sense of the highest yoga tantra.
Practice. This is why I always go with Zalung Dortushana Yang Alameke Jurawa. If you really can condense what is the primary practice of Ngak Lameke Ju, actually, we call Dorjism or Zalung Teglism. Zalung Teglism or Nangalu Dorjism, the practice. Jukbares. Same practice, why we fight? Your practice or my practice, they matter. Practice, right? Yang ngozoki nge sulongi domba, like discipline. Bao, it's the same. Bela sangma chukbare. The same. Then he argue, if you really narrow down, right? Nyamlen gareredo, sungja gareredo, chikpa. Sangma chikpa sungiyore. Nyamlen chikpa chikiyore, kaka chede kukpare.
Both the practice and the kind forms of discipline or vows are the same all over Tibet, all the different lineages. If you think to divide them up, then you're a fool. Or you're an idiot.
Then therefore, the showing is really, its goal is the same. All the practice lineage and goal is the same. Right? Then also showing that even though same goal, single goal, but there's a lot of method. That's the beauty of Buddhism. Not only one method. And practice, so many practice. Not only 8 practice, right? Then again, 8 is the main, then subcategory. Yeah. That's the beauty of Buddhism. The showing has, I think the Lotus High showing is no matter how many branch is what they call increasing, right? We should not lose the root. Showing the root there. Think the root. That practice lineage, right? There's one purpose. And if you really think, oh, then Lotus Thai did a lot of good things for Tibetan lineage. Not only that, also the Lotus Thai actually, what they call, invented new culture in Tibet. Buddhist new culture. Isn't it, right? New culture. Like, for example, now we have like a Wang Chenpo Nayage.
Huge empowerment ceremonies, festivals.
Like a Damgazi Wang, right? Dungkorke Wang, right? They're a festival, right? All this started from the Lotus Thai. And before, there's not big collection, right? If you, in order to give this a Wang, and then like, 1 hour, 2 hours, you finished. Because 1 text, 2 texts, right? Separate text, you finish. Then Lotus Thai put everything together to finish great festival. Also new culture. Then Drupchen. Drupchen Zuya, like a great practice Drupchen, right? Like 10 days. If Lotus Thai didn't come back all the time, like Drupchen, it's boring. And he makes this also. New culture, he. So
Yeah.
This is why we call, that makes Lotus Thai is great. All this. Did I say something better? Good one? No.
Lots of
meaningful?
good ones.
Yes.
Ja, du. Den där ska du göra.
Then, for me, I had a conversation with Elizabeth and Marcus too. if you're really interested in Tibetan Buddhism, you should go back to original source, which is the 8 practice lineage. Right? So now almost like right, most of us, we practice called Tibetan Buddhism. What the 8 practice lineage, nobody knows. Right? And therefore we call all the Dharma become a Dharma of my teacher, which is good, but yeah, I love my teacher, right? Whatever my teacher said, that's it. Then that is missing. Why practice lineage? Why we call practice lineage, right? You should remember what makes a practice lineage. I say 3 things make a practice lineage. Yubiki cheper, 3 unique quality, right? 당부들은 유바 약보진 거 그래서. 유바
Yeah.
lineage,
Lineage.
right? Without a lineage, it is not practice lineage. New Age lineage. If you don't have a lineage, then everything's New Age thing. 그래서 유바기 켜버거 그래.
Special lineage.
Really, it's 유바고 그래. 유베 켜버. 니바디 담나게 켜버. So it's instruction. You need an instruction. You have a lineage, but not the transmission. Then what? You have a nice history. No? Yes, 유배 쳐버린 거 그래. 아니, 니바디 당하게 쳐버려. 소소 라라와. Why this like Buddhism like, right? There's sometimes people say, why Buddhism, in Tibet, even Vajrayana split in 8 because of the Dhamma. Each practice lineage has a very unique instruction that receiving coming from India, right? Dhamma ke cheparde, Dhamma. That we need this unique, special,
Unique is good.
yeah, unique Dhamma instruction. Then somebody chilapki cheparan go kres. Then a blessing. Then it become a practice lineage. Right? Practice lineage. Then if you don't, we don't have these 3, right? Lineage, instruction, and blessing. Even you discover Dharma today, right? You can Dharma. No lineage, no Dhamma, no blessing. What is good about it? The New Age Dharma. Then if you want to practice Tibetan Buddhism, go back. The lineage, you have to trace back. First, 8 practice lineage, which one you belong. Then the 8 practice, go back to the India. Then Buddha. Then Dhamma Dhamma. That's the Lord Thai thinking, oh. Lord Thai says, how important this? She's showing. Digitalism. Then what else? 사소해.
Mari? Yini ang tigi ready ang
Ready.
concept.
Do I, okay, do you have a question?
I'll think of one.
Okay. I think that's, then if you think that's, then the Lord Thai, right? If you say like a Lord Thai, if you're sincere in practice, the lineage, then the Lord Thai, all the like same thing like in these days in Google, right? If you want to practice the lineage in Google, Lord Thai will pop up on the first page. Should be. Not, yes. Yes, did all young great. Okay. Yes.
You said the 3rd quality is blessings. Would you like to explain a little bit more what you mean by blessings?
Do you love the chapter? No.
We would like you to. It would be helpful.
Jilab cannot explain. Something, right? Some connection will happen. Or some, what they call, some effect or power. When power happens, but really, when you say like a blessing Gyaltsen is you cannot really explain. For me, yes.
Maybe you can say what it is not. I'm asking because when you just take a word like Gyaltsen and you say blessings in English, we all may have different ideas about what we think that is. And so maybe in this particular case, when we're talking about 8 practice lineages, yes, there's a lineage, yes, there are in the instructions. So what's that other magical element? What do you mean by that? Is it the realization that happens in each generation of teachers and who pass on to their students? Is that somehow what you're calling in Tibetan Gyaltsen, and then we say in English blessings? Is that what we mean? Or is it something else, where somebody puts their hand on your head and you got their blessings?
Maybe. I mean, like actually, the teaching, this whatever traveling, beginning from the what they call lineage, right? The blessings already start from the lineage. Almost like you are preserving some spirit, I don't know, some wisdom, some right, some power, some warmness. It's started from the already like a lineage, right? Already lineage. This is what they call the lineage. Why is it important, the lineage? Because there's a blessing. Then blessing is some sort of like a, then how does the blessing take place? Blessing is something that's inconceivable, what they call effect. Effect, got it?
Okay.
Yes, inconceivable effect. It affect. Then effect. This is called nuba. You love the nuba.
Ability, power,
Yes.
capability.
Then this blessing has to, really the blessing has to what they call protected, somehow like protected or sustained properly. This is what the lineage, right? Well, the one thing the lineage duty or function of a lineage is to practice blessing. Blessing, whatever, right? Or the lineage. Lineage is like blessing, you protect it, like Jubi Lama, whatever, right? Lineage. Then actually, then while the Dhamma coming here, you are transferring what is it to be right? Transfer like also this blessing. Not only blessing, and so other things too, also blessing. Then you receive the blessing. The Malebe, I don't know.
Yes, that's why I'm asking. Thank you.
Can I add something to that?
Okay.
Just I was thinking of an example of it, maybe, that if the lineage holders are like the vessels, and then the Dhamma, the instructions would be like the water, and then the blessing would be like the ability to quench thirst with the water. So, I don't know, that popped into my mind.
That's
because
good.
I'm thirsty.
That's good
maybe.
analysis, yes. Yeah. Okay.
Well, what I was asking for 2 reasons. One, because I think the word blessing in English can be very easily misunderstood. I'm not even sure sometimes what we mean in what context, but
How could it, like what, for instance? What would be a wrong understanding of it?
well, maybe I could say what I think might be the right way is that there has to be something from one's own side and the teacher's side, right? So that there's something, again, it's a little bit hard to say, I agree, but there's a lineage, there's instructions, but there also has to be people practicing it. It has to be alive, has to be dynamic, and there's something that gets transmitted through people interacting and from a teacher teaching something and a student getting something. Maybe that's what we call blessing, or we call realization being passed on. But if we think it's something passive, we're just waiting for that zap, to come, then maybe that's what I think of as might be like a wrong understanding of it, that there has to be some like active quality on both sides, which keeps it alive and passed on, so that it isn't just a lineage
Okay.
that goes from one generation to another when texts are given, right? There's something else.
Okay.
So do you have a new translation for it that we could use?
In this case, they're saying, right, in general, one of the they're saying, the nature, they talked three different types of a blessing. Types of blessing. One is like a Dhammakaya, right? Suchness is a blessing. Chunyi minjur dembi chilap. Chunyi mijurwa demba chirwa di chilap re. Chunyi minjur dembi chilap tangs.
So the unchanging nature of reality or the unchanging nature of phenomena is blessing.
It's a blessing. Chunyi minjur dembi chilap tangs. This is Buddha's, one of the Buddha's wishing prayers. Dembi chilap tangs. Chigdi chunyi minjur sangye kusum nyebi chilap. One is like a blessing of attaining 3 kaya. Sangye kusum nyebi chilap, tala chilap yore. And chilap somebody ngazo ngendumba ke dumba. Ngendi miche dumba chilaps.
The undivided Sangha blessing.
Yes, undivided Sangha's gathering, they could chilapings. Chilap. Chilap di, then jukbar shos like a doa. Mazo sangmala chilap di sumdi da, juko pore. Then you can say which blessing we're talking here. Maybe the first one, right? The transferring, you passed to realize that. Then you say like, actually, what we're talking actually like the 3 blessing when we're talking like in Juba, right? Who holds this 3 blessing actually thing? Of course, the first one is, yes, omnipresent, right? You don't have to worry. And second one is you say, yes, this lineage has to start someone who had, who attained the realization of 3 kaya, right? That's the second. Then without the master who realized the 3 kaya, then lineage will not start. This is the beginning of a lineage, right? If there is no realization, then the lineage is not lineage. Chila maybe, Juba maybe, there's no blessing there. Then actually, what is this second blessing, right? Sangye kusum nyeba, the 3 kayas Buddha realization, the blessing of the realization, that is the continuing. How to continue? Then gende michi debi chilaps. The harmony. Harmony,
That's good.
of the sanghas.
Of the Sangha.
Chilap de nungere lagado. Other questions?
People have tried various translations of literal translations of Jinlap because the lap means a wave. Jin means giving or generous. So waves of generosity or inundation of power or all kinds of funny things. I think blessing is the best because it's just sort of simple and broad. So. Yes.
Very different to Buddhists than what it means to other religions.
Yes.
I mean the word blessing in English, right?
So please.
Blessing the word blessing is an Anglo-Saxon word, and it's translating a Latin word which literally means to say something well, to say something good to somebody. And the idea is that it makes something is given that makes it holy, sacred.
I see.
But in Buddhism, what Lama said is it's this Nypa, it's the kind of enabling function that makes it possible to the action to take place, right? Something like this. That I mean, it's very interesting that you actually very difficult to express what chinap is. You said it was inconceivable, but it's. I think I understood you to say that the chinlap is what gives the power for the realization to take place in the person. So the blessing of the lineage, the blessing of the Lama, the blessing of the Guru is an essential factor that you have to have to receive. So does that make sense?
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
Even sometimes we can think, sometimes we call like a transmission, right? Transmission like a realization. Can you transmit the realization? No. Can I transfer my realization to other people or another planet? I said no. Right? Sanjiga like a transmit the power. Ngay 똑바 신라 포민데스. 드웬 동안 착지 미살싱.
I don't know the second part.
No, this is like right.
Transfer.
But it's very, very strong statement. I cannot transfer
to another.
my realization to the others. Then that also I cannot remove from my hand somebody's negative karma.
Yeah.
No, not negative karma. Dungal.
Suffering.
Others are suffering, right? I cannot remove, right, from my hand. And then driving the chugging me to there like other people's bad karma cannot be washed through the water. The yoma is like that. You know, like in Tenpa tona dolgres. Tenpa tong ben dolgis. Like that, all this happened through seeing the truth. And then I charang la tarbigi tapdi thinking. Then this is how you can transfer. Blessing can be transferred. Really, is a blessing can be transferred. Then through the blessing, you can realize you can attain realization. Then indirectly, you transfer the realization too, right? Not directly. Then tabra like a jilap method. Then what is a good method? Then it has a blessing or not. Jilap di poyo transfer. Something new, right?
Kelso.
I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about maybe the relationship between the scholastic institutions like the monastic Shedra and the kind of the practice lineages as a institution of like practicing and why we need both or why Buddhism needs both, and then as a practitioner, like a Western practitioner or any practitioner, when do you develop your own path, when does one need to study and when does one need to practice? Is there like a sign when one side is like you're going too far in one direction?
You asking me or him? Her?
It's you.
To me, and both. Okay, ask her, practice, and study. Well, we don't need both. We don't need both. Then yes, question is, yeah, why do we need both? Is one is sufficient or not, right? Then question is,
For accomplishment, to attain accomplishment.
yes. How the, I think no before we ask that question, right? For what do I need this practice and study? And then we say goal, right? This is what you call, we should have a clear goal. Maybe liberation, Tarbarawa, liberation and freedom, or nirvana, right? A goal. Then in order to attain, right? Then actually, then if we have a clear goal, then we will know what method is necessary. Right? What method is a necessary path. If our goal is not clear, maybe method is not clear. Maybe if our goal, right? First is like a goal, is it clear? Then the method, in order to attain this goal, it should no. Why only two, right? Only practice and study, but maybe there are more, right? Is there another path not including the practice and the study? Right? That means like, what is the practice? What is the method, right? What is the practice? What is the method to attain our goal? Actually, everything could become a method, or millions of methods, could be. And sometimes they summarize a practice and study. And then unnecessarily sometimes we, what they call, split. This is a practice and this is study, right? Like a Republican and Democratic. In order to have a peaceful country in America, what we need to do, we need a both. Of course not both, one. Sometimes we think like a study and practice like a Democratic and a Republican. But actually not. Actually, practice and study, if you something that you could go, it's donjik, different language, donjik.
Means the
Same. I would say practice is a study is a practice. Right? Thing. Maybe you can argue that one way, right? I would say maybe same. Then what is the practice? Gambopa say, Tenpa, Sempa, Gomba, Nyamle, Manarwaris. This is the right practice. When Tenpa, Sempa, Gomba, Sumdi, Tungmar Jeba, Tersam Gomsum, Tungmar Jebani, Nyamle, Ne Manarwa was. Tungmar is like all together, same time. But we have this idea, I don't know where this idea is at. First you should study, then practice. Or maybe just practice, you don't need to study. We have this idea. Idea there, right? Okay. There's one way of thinking. But one thing is then it was okay. Tenpa and Gomba, that's a Rimba Yore. Some study mean like a Tenpa.
Hearing.
Right? Only
Listening.
hearing and
Listening.
hearing, right? Hearing and contemplating, hearing. Tenpa up and Gomba up. That's the two phases, the two stages. Then he said, Dini da Tenpa dang Gomba nide. Then maybe sometimes like a Tenpa You call study sometimes, right? Tenpa. Then Tenpa is study. Then Gomba, and called practice. Tenpa shut up and Gombe shut up. Then Sambi shut up, Tenpa shut up, right? The three prashna. Then I don't remember who said that. Not the letang bopa. If you are beginners, or ongbo tamaba, like what you call lesser faculty, like us, right? Lesser faculty or beginners, we should start with study, Tenpa. Study. First emphasize study a little bit. Then later in the beginning emphasize the study, then later and the practice. Then if you are sharp faculty, a lucky one, onbo rap, onbo rap, right? Like a kansa chikcharwa.
Then sumka gogi mare. Ter sam gom gogi.
Then like a kansa chikcharwa, the sound is very sharp faculty, then you don't need a Tenpa. Gom la jung tutukure. Chikcharwa. That is up to us. It's interesting, we are reading Elizabeth, and I was reading Dr. Dakshinam the text, and he says actually, in his days, right, is a Chikcharwa. He said, like, we should emphasize Chikcharwa.
Chikchawa, instantaneous.
Yes, like
All at
onboard
once.
rap, right?
All at
You don't need
once.
to go all these things. But everybody teaching is a Rimjiba, and he says teaching Rimjiba. He says actually we should start with the Chikcharwa.
So everybody's teaching in the stages or the gradual path, and really we should be doing all at once, rising all at once, instantaneous.
Now the Nisungdo, yes.
Most people our minds are sharp and active.
Yeah. Yeah, minds are sharp and active.
They would be more benefited by an instantaneous
Teaching class. And he says it's the time to teach.
at his time, 16th century.
Yeah, but why not? Even though we have become more sharper and more intellectual, right? He said that let's study. More active mind for this Chikcharwa. But I will say that this has to be balanced. Always balanced. Study, we should not think like a study and practice is not a galwa. Right?
It's
Same thing like not
it's
this
not
day.
contradictory.
Not this day like a computer programmers. You think I'm not a computer program. I have a lot of friends, right? You have to keep update, study. It's changing, right? Every time you have to study, they say, right? Computer programmer, they're always saying they have to study. Why? Always upgrade. Same thing when you meditate, your realizations are upgrading. You're not same old thing. If it's all the same thing, okay, I know everything. Everything is new, similar, upgraded. Okay, then I remember one thing is something the Dharma only, one self-benefit. You think it's my realization, the welfare for myself. And then meditation alone is enough. Study is not really not necessary, they said. But not only in order to teach others, you should study. Otherwise, how are you going to communicate? Even like a language, you have to study language too, right? Without a language, something like a study, you will know some skill to communicate other too. Shende, sugunyi drupeke gyu mangbo de Tenpa de mangbo shekido. They say like in order to develop the like two rupakaya, right? To benefit others, that causes this talking a lot of study. But in the West, you don't need to worry. We study too much. I say, never enough. Never enough, right? You read 1 book or 2 books is enough. It's a shame. In the West, you say, I read 3 books, 4 books. It's enough. I know. In the West, they say already we have the strong tendency. Oh, I know. I read 1 book and 2 books, some Google. I know this.
Some Google.
Some Google Dharma. Then I say, always we have this tendency. I know. Right? I don't need it. I know. No, that's never enough. Study things never enough. If you look at like a lotus Thai, right? If you really, we call like practice mean you go retreat and lock your hand and sit. Actually, there's like a lotus Thai functions at the same time, like right? 3. One hand is a money drawer. There's how he manage, right? Accumulating merit, right? The will of money is taking, and also he's reciting mantra, something, and writing. 두직라, and 자왔음 남겨요. Right? He's saying,
Multitasking.
yeah. That's like amazing thing how he did it. Then in the West we say we should do 1 at a time. Study, right?
Writing, saying mantras, and turning the wheel, the prayer wheel at the same time. 3
Same
things at
time.
once.
He did it. Even like then also study is a part of practice. Even that like when you study the Salam, right? Pajam Bhumi. Actually, when you attain the path of seeing, then your desire to study will increase more. Really more. They say like you are what you call joyful, delightful of study. It never say, oh, never enough. But what you call the swan, entering into the lake.
Swan or
Swan is entering into the lake. Jumps up,
very happy.
very happy to enter, right? They say when you reach the path of seeing, then you like study, willing to knowing, learning. Right? Then thing like sometimes I contemplate in English language. We say Tenpa, right? We say that Tenpa, shut up. Study, right? That's a study. What does it mean study? We collect all this terminology. We'll try to remember all the terms. Try to create the what they call terminology bank. I know all this the terminology, right? I think this is a part of the study, but not really. Actually, study is for me. We're learning how to be receptive. Receptive. Tenpa, right? And learning, really learning. Whatever coming, right? Study time is actually very good practice. Receptive. That's why I said study, right? You should not analyze. Even like teachers giving you nonsense teaching, you take it. You shouldn't say, I know it, it doesn't make sense, right? No. Once you like it all. No. Cup of double magic, You say like, I know it, everything like upside down, right? This vessel? No. It's open, totally open. That means in English word very nice, right? Being receptive. Yeah. Really being there's a learning and study, right? That's the practice. Receptive. Even looking at Tenpa, when you in the phases of study, even you study Islamic, Hindu, Muslim, anything. This is why in the Tibetan, in Buddhism, right? It's when you study, Sheja, Ne Jula Kabagoze. 10 fields of study, right? Not only Dharma, everything there. If it's possible, study. Receptive first, right? That we're learning receptive. Then also sometimes I say like a blessing, right? This is also like the sometimes we say even blessing. Blessings are always there. Like suchness, right? Unchanging suchness is a blessing. We cannot what they call receive. Why? We are not ready to receive, not receptive. So here is a lomage. This was like a mugu. I said, sometimes I translate, what is the mugu here? Is being receptive. You're ready to receive. This is the same with the Tenpa, right? Tenpa learning is being receptive, yes? This is why we say like a yes, 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 yes. In the study, yes, yes, open. Then next, then okay. Then contemplation I call creative. Then is sambara. Sambara I call then creative. Then okay, you figure out, okay, you receive and receive. You should not just live with this and make it, no, creative. What should I do with this? So, we need a more American Western Kempo, not a yogi. There are too many yogi already in the West. Right? Yogi, and they already create so many problems. Isn't that right? So many yogis in the West and already create a problem, so we need a more Kempo and Jeshi. And then see, like Jeshi create a problem or not. Then even Jeshi create a problem, okay, stop it. Not yogi, not Jeshi. Then we have to think in another way, how to do. Until now, we try to produce so many yogi practice, right? They create all problem. Now we need to produce more Kempo and Jeshi. Madebe. Study. But if you ask this question to Dalai Lama, he will shout it at you. Right? If you want to study, if you want to be a Buddhist, he was a study. Study, right? Study. Nalanda tradition. Study. Yes. That's how it's right?
Yeah, we'll do that. Don't take so long.
Yes. Study, okay.
Yeah.
Lama Sara is here, I'm here. Now we have a Shambhala Hall publication. We have a Sada, there's a lot of study place. We have a Naroba.
Lots of books.
Lots of books. Yes, study. Yes.
What's the point of a lot of study if there's not practice as well, though? I mean, what's the point of knowing a lot of things if you're not going to practice as well? Finding the balance between them.
Study, and if you don't practice?
What's the point of studying Buddhism if
you don't practice?
Yeah, then it's just an intellectual pursuit.
It's good then, you know already. Without knowing nothing, knowing is a little better.
Knowing
Isn't it?
something is better than
Yes,
knowing nothing.
something knowing is better than nothing. Then I would say that it doesn't harm you.
But practice does harm?
Uh,
So is that saying that practice does harm without studying? Or is there some can one study just enough to be able to do their practice properly? I mean, the point of studying more would be to teach others, right?
no, yes. Yes, practice. Is the study itself is not practiced?
Is it?
I say yes, I claim it is. Then, okay, study is not just knowing the terminology. And how can I organize this terminology, right? You know the word, right? Emptiness, selflessness, and Dhammakaya, and compassion is a word, you know, right? When you study, you know this thing, right? then only mere knowing the terminology, a term, is not enough. For us, it's enough, right? If I remember, it's not enough. This is what you're only hearing, right? This is not enough. This is already good, but not good enough. Then further, then you say, okay, what that really mean? Then it's called practice. Maybe for some people, study, practice is the same thing. They don't differentiate. Maybe some people, they say, okay, study means something, practice means something. It's true. In this case, like a second case, which is important and end, is a practice. Practice. Then question is, what does it mean, what I mean a practice? I can describe it that without practice, no Dharma. Building monastery, building library, writing all this book, if you're in practice, all this is not meaningless. You can say that, right? And if building practice and writing book, reading book is not practice, what is the practice then? You can make it both ways argument. One way you say, argue, if you don't practice building monastery, making circumambulation, and writing book, reading book, doing this, it's useless. Okay, practice something. Okay, I agree with that. Okay, building monastery is not a practice. Reciting mantras is not a practice. Reading books is not a practice. Writing books is not a practice. Then what is practice? What is practice? What is practice there? Then no practice. Sometimes I argue similar question. This is in the West. So many people say we need a Buddhism, not a culture, Tibetan culture. Many people try to separate Tibetan culture and Buddhism, right? I think maybe many of you think that too. We don't want Tibetan culture. We want pure Dharma. It's a nice statement, nice idea. If you take all this culture, what is Dharma then? What is Dharma then? There's no Dharma then. Sitting, this is a culture. Like this is culture. I don't know, anything that's student culture. If you push away all the culture, everything, right? Then what is Dharma? Practice. Actually, you cannot really separate Dharma and culture. Ideally, you say, yes, oh, this is culture, this is Dharma. Same thing like a study and a practice. Practice, right? For me, the study itself is the practice. Practice itself is the study. Study. What is a study in Tibetan? Zhongwa. Zhongwa. Lo Zhongwa. You're training your mind, right? Zhongwa. Love Zhong Jiawat. Love is learn and train. Love Zhong. Zhongwa, right? Mind training. If mind training is not a practice, what is the practice? Being dumb? Like a Western way of sitting. Sit like a rock. Sounds very nice, right? Sit like a rock. It's a practice. What is good about being sitting like a rock? You have a nice experience because you have a little break, right? Oh, calm. I said, for me, it's like sitting on a rock I don't consider it as a practice. So therefore, for me, I'm arguing is a study and practice the same thing. It's mind training. Love and Jong. Yes. Don't you think? Then people say, only study. If you don't practice, what is the point? Sometimes they say, study, not practice. Like, for example, university professor like Lama Tenpa. Same thing they say, right? Maybe like a university professor, they say, they learn all many terminology, right? They learn all what do you call? They learn so many terminology, actually they don't study. They don't study Dharma. They study about Dharma. They know how to play around. They know how to make a drama about the Dharma. It's called study, right? Research. They learn about the Dharma. This is what they say in university. Right? We don't teach Buddhism, we don't teach Dharma. We teach about Dharma. And they know how to make a big drama, right? Big drama about the Dharma, because they study. They don't study Dharma, this one. Similar to like Chinese tea. Something like when you drink Chinese tea, do you know? You drink like this small cup called tea ceremony. There's a cup, one sip. And they give a 1 hour lecture before you drink this. 1 hour lecture, right? How does it come from? What is the affair? And all this lecture. I thought, you ruined my tea. This is what you call study sometimes, right? You study about this tea. If you want to study this tea, drink it before you did lecture. That's how you study. Sometimes like West, like study about Dharma, we're learning called history. History is good, but actually we try to make a big drama about this tea. One sip of tea you taste, and they give a lecture for 1 hour. This is called you study. You study not the Dharma, you study about the Dharma. If you go about the Dharma, then it's never ended, right? This is why you don't learn Dharma, you learn about it. But really, if you really study Dharma, not about it, just study Dharma, that is a practice. Study, right? You're learning that. I mean, if I want to learn this glass really, I should touch and heat, and break, bring together this, right? You look at this, who made this glass? How did this come, right? You're not really study, you study about it. That's another, maybe in the West, when you study Dharma, is how to make it like a drama, right? Maybe that is a thing to study. I mean, I heard this word a lot, and I contemplate a lot. Study and practice, right? Even like sometimes Tibetan making there, right? Tenpa maybe gombati, like dum daglan zekbashins. Like without study and meditating, as you try to climb the rock without arm. And then Gomba maybe Tenpa, like you have a Tenpa, Jamsor Dala, Shiva does. He said like a study without practice, like you die and you die by thirsty and sitting in the river. You have a water,
you die
right?
of thirst while sitting in the
water, river, right? This is like if you study and not practice, right? You have a water in front of you, but you're suffering. Oh, and you die. Did it say that? I think the Sajja Pandita said that. But if you're like in Gamboba saying, Tenpa He's saying the Tenpa, Senpa, Gompa is the same thing. If you separate, then you're wrong. So therefore this day I say study, practice is the same. Same. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, yes. Maybe you may not agree, many people will not agree. Study, practice is the same. For me, yes, I will argue that in Buddhism, argue in Buddhism, yes, study and practice is the same. Dunjip. Okay. Maybe Lama, you have a different opinion? Study,
No,
practice? Yes.
Kala Rinpoche used to do a little thing of course, he was one of those yogis that made trouble. But he said, for a stool, it needs 4 legs. And, study and practice. And then sort of confidence or devotion, confidence and faith that what you were doing, and you could persist at it. And then an ethical basis, like that. But then he'd say, but a stool can also have 3 legs and still be perfectly, solid. But like I said, he made trouble. Study.
You and, yeah.
No, I agree. I think that's really a good. I think we have a very limited idea of what practice is. It's limited to sitting on a cushion or something and, doing your daily practice, and that can't be the only meaning, because that's just a tiny portion of life. So if that's the only time that you practice during this formal sitting, you waste your life. Yeah, it has to be a much broader. I think we have to have a much broader appreciation of what that word means. Practice. There's all kinds of things to do that are practice. You should be able to make every part practice, including study and everything. So.
I think that's true. Like, we should define what is the practice. Well, limited.
Mm-hmm.
Then some people say, okay, practice. Then we say, what is not practice?
Mm-hmm.
What is not practice? Okay, if study is not practice, then everything's not practice. If you take it away, then study is not practice. Accumulation of merit is not practice.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The benefit of others is not practice. Then something, if you take it away, this is not practice. This is not practice. This is not practice. Then question, what is practice? Then okay, then you say, okay, like a sitting. It's a practice. For what reason? You're training your mind. Something, right? Okay. Then, purpose of the training, whatever training your mind is a practice. Study is a practice too, because also train the mind too.
Mm-hmm. Then also, even when you're sitting, if you're distracted mentally, then that's not practice.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So then it's really a tiny, tiny few moments maybe. So we better have a bigger definition or we're in trouble.
I was traveling last year in Europe. Then I gave a public talk in Poland also. Somewhere. Then, not in also in Taipei. They say like a practice, the Dharma for everyday life. Dharma for everyday life. Right? Dharma for everyday life. Then I ask them, what is Dharma? It's not for everyday life. Then I can talk. This Dharma is the everyday life, right? If Dharma is not for everyday life, then why we need this, right? Which Dharma is not for everyday life? Prajna is not good for everyday life. Compassion is not good for everyday life. Mindfulness is not good everyday life. Then say, which Dharma is not good for everyday life? Similar here, right? The study is not good for practice, not a practice. Same thing also. These days I also I make a lot of argument, fight with the Tibetan young people. Now many Tibetan young people, Tibetan youth, they blamed everything goes wrong, Tibetan society, everything because of Dharma. The church problem, Dharma. Then they're really thinking politics and Dharma should separate, right? They say, oh, Dharma should not come to the politics. I say, okay, I agree. Which Dharma harmed your politics? Which Dharma harmed a human society? Which Dharma? Tell me. Which Dharma is harmful for the human being? Right? Then this is not good. Then you think this thing. Then if some Dharma is harmful to the humanity, right, human being, it is not Dharma. Otherwise, why we need to separate Dharma from the politics? Politics is to benefit, right, to serve. Then comes the other than that, without properly thinking this, it's because of the Dharma. They ruin the our society. Then you see like Dharma, the Dharma thing. You see, the compassion is compassion or prajna or the generosity or this thing, the mindfulness. This need. Then they say, now they say, okay, maybe we have to change the wording. 최랑 씨니디라 냠도 최씨 최라 씨고가 말해 씨라 최고 그래. Dharma doesn't need a politics need a Dharma. Dharma, everything, right? Dharma is medicine. Same thing with the study and in the practice. Last one did away. This is me. Okay.
That is a good word I teach.
Lasso, good.
Thank you so much. Thanks, both of you, for being here. And thank you, Sara, for toughing it out for the whole weekend.
Yeah.
And thank you, Lama, for rescuing me.
No.
Thank you guys for toughing it out as well. Few of you who did. So,
I think this is a Korang Mingareo. Shambhala Medi.
Nico?
Nico? No, he's not Nico.
Ivan?
Ivan. Thank you, Ivan. Maybe this is good. Maybe regularly, not regularly, time to time, right? We should gather here. We have now, of course, the Boulder is a crazy place. So many things happening, right? Sometimes it's a little bit too much. But we should take something like important thing should happen. Like, every block, something happening like called Dharma thing, yoga, meditation, chanting, every corner. But maybe this is a good place. Maybe working, now we have a Sadra Foundation, Shambhala publication, and also good thing is in the Boulder, also very many nice, nice Mare. Many important speakers, teachers, right? Translators and teachers, and also senior practitioners, right? Senior practitioners. We have a good resources and bring and different conversation. Like for example, like a topic, meditation and study. depend on you, will be benefit. Okay. Then, as I mentioned, I'll be happy to be part of this. Something happen. It's good. 되니? 야부도 드지체.